Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So, any difficulties in air masses? एयर मासेस अच्छी तरह से करो एंड खुद का आंसर बनाओ. बस एयर मास को एक जगह से दूसरी जगह ले आओ. कुछ कुछ चीज़ें जो याद रखनी है प्रॉपरली इज नॉर्थ ईस्टर्स एंड एंड मानसून्स. Today's topic will be very easy, and obviously easy है इसलिए it will be fast also. So it is the fronts, cyclones, wave cyclones and the tropical cyclones. And wave cyclones को हमें डिटेल में पढ़ना है. That is regarding the formation or the theory of the formation of the temperate cyclone. Temperate cyclone मतलब wave cyclones. एंड एक ही फेवरेट क्वेश्चन है ऑप्शनल में यूपीएससी का, डिफरेंशिएट बिटवीन टेम्परेट एंड ट्रॉपिकल साइक्लोन्स. बस वही क्वेश्चन आता है जनरली जो बार बार आता है. फाइन. सो व्हाट इज द फ्रंट? व्हाट इज सबसे पहले फ्रंट? When two contrasting air masses converge together, it is known as a front. How many types of front are there? There are cold front and warm front. मैं आपको डिटेल में नहीं लिखाऊंगा. You can look in the printout. But उससे पहले you should have a basic idea regarding the fronts. The fronts is the converging boundary between the two contrasting air masses. Secondly, for the formation of the fronts, two things are necessary: convergence and contrast. Thirdly, fronts are of four types: occluded, stationary, the cold front and the warm front. Fine. And then there are some of the characteristics that are associated with the fronts. जब तक हम पहले तीन टॉपिक्स है, डेफिनेशन ऑफ द फ्रंट्स, द टाइप्स ऑफ द फ्रंट्स एक्सेट्रा, तब तक जीएस है एज इट इज. And the characteristics of the front में there is something known as occluded front. And occluded is the death of a front. Optional में एक ही चीज़ extra है, that is there is a cold front occlusion and the warm front occlusion. So I'll start with the front initially. And थोड़ा presentation पे ध्यान देना यहाँ पे in this front. So definition is, it is a converging, it is a sloping boundary. It is a sloping boundary. It is a sloping boundary between two converging and contrasting air masses. It is a sloping boundary between two contrasting and converging air masses. Or as it is a line of discontinuity. It is a line of discontinuity. It is a line of discontinuity between two air masses of different densities. Between the two air masses of different densities. Between two air masses of different densities. What we have studied in GS, what is a front का definition? Convergence of two contrasting air masses. Fine. Extra चीज क्या है जो ऑप्शनल के आंसर में आना चाहिए? Line of discontinuity. First part of your definition as it is GS का definition. It is a converging boundary between the two contrasting air masses. Second part of your definition is the line of discontinuity between the air masses of different densities. Let this come even in the optionals. Secondly, why the name front? Why the name front? इसको क्यों कहते हैं front? Between they are forming a boundary between two contrasting air masses. So they are in front of each other. ये word लिया है from battlefront. What happens in the battlefront? In the battlefront, दो enemies आमने सामने होती है each other. Fine, and therefore this word has been taken. So यहाँ पे enemies क्या है? One is a warm air mass, other is a cold air mass. Understanding? That is why the name has been taken front. Front में they are always converging, आसपास. So the foundation of this fronts, the foundation of the fronts was laid by Jerkins. You already know Jerkins now. Jerkens, Jerkins. कॉमा जर्किन्स, दो जर्किन्स है. कल जर्किन्स एंड जर्किन्स, जर्किन्स कॉमा जर्किन्स एंड सोलबर्ग. Jerkins and Jerkins we studied yesterday also in air masses. Fine, air masses and fronts के ऊपर काम किया था Jerkins and Jerkins. So if the question comes regarding the contribution of Norwegian school in geomorphology, you have to write regarding Jerkins and Jerkins. तीन चीजें लिखना है आपको. क्लाउड फॉर्मेशन के बारे में, बर्जॉन, टॉर बर्जॉन. सेकंड, यू हैव टू राइट रिगार्डिंग द एयर मासेस, they gave the concept of air masses. And third, you have to write that they gave the concept of the fronts. This is the contribution of the Norwegian school. There has been one question regarding the contribution of American school in geomorphology. Davis, fine, Gilbert, उसके बाद Powell, base level. So in तीनों का contribution. So they can ask you the contribution of Norwegian school in climatology. There are three concepts here. Fine. The concept was given by Jerkins and Solberg after intensive studies during World War I. इसलिए बैटल फ्रंट World War I के समय डिस्कवर हुआ ये. That's why front. Next, the frontal zones is characterized by sloping boundaries between two huge between two contrasting air masses full stop. Along this narrow zone there is an abrupt change of temperature, pressure, humidity, and wind direction. and wind direction. And wind direction. The fronts are basically of the fronts are sorry, cancel that. There are two major types of fronts. There are two major types of fronts. There are two major types of fronts. Warm front, and draw this diagram. कुछ नहीं, लाइन पे सर्कल्स, सेमी सर्कल्स, that is a warm front. Next, cold front, line पे triangles, this is cold front. Fine. The process of formation of the fronts, the process of formation of new fronts or fronts is known as frontogenesis किसने दिया था concept of frontogenesis? Tor Bergeron. Who is Tor Bergeron? जिसने ice crystal theory दी थी, the same person, Tor Bergeron. Frontogenesis also involves regeneration of old and decaying fronts, regeneration of old and decaying fronts, old and decaying fronts. Frontogenesis occurs when there is convergence of air masses, occurs when there is convergence of air masses Frontogenesis occurs when there is a convergence of air masses. Next paragraph. Divergence of air masses leads to frontolysis or death of a front. Frontolysis or death of a front. Frontolysis, frontogenesis, frontolysis or death of a front. Now understand here, this is my imaginary line on the surface of the earth in the higher latitudes. In this imaginary line in the higher latitudes, that is the subpolar high pressure belt, westerly winds are moving. ठीक है? This is how the westerly winds are moving. These westerly winds are warm winds, obviously. And then दूसरी wind जो move कर रही है in this region is the easterly wind. This is how the easterly wind is moving. Polar easterly winds, not the trade winds. Fine. So as a result of this, in this zone जहाँ पे ये दोनों air move हो रही है, this is the region where there will be the formation of the fronts. Based on this, what is a warm front? Now suppose the westerly wind goes in this region, in the higher latitudes. As a result of this, यहाँ पे क्या form होगा? This will be warm front. Warm front means in simple words, warm air active है. Warm air active means warm air is going into the territory of cold air and it is trying to displace the cold air from the ground, but वैसे नहीं होगा, कुछ और होगा. Right? Similarly, whenever there is a cold air which is coming downwards, I have already told you in a very quick manner, this all. When the cold air is coming downwards, this is the region जहाँ पे cold front form होगा. That is, the cold air is coming and entering the territory of warm air and it is successful in displacing the warm air from the ground because cold air is denser. Therefore, we have seen कि tropical cyclones जब move करते हैं, sorry, the jet streams जब move करती है, तो it then gets converted into Rossby waves and यहाँ पे low pressure belt and यहाँ पे high pressure belt. In the initial stage, jet streams is straight, then it gets converted into the Rossby waves. So based on this, we classify the fronts into 4 types. Fronts तो सब ऐसे टॉपिक है क्लास में ही याद हो जाने चाहिए. We'll classify the front into warm front when the warm air goes into the territory of cold air. We'll classify the front into cold front when the cold air will go into the territory of warm air. We'll classify the front into occluded front when there will be frontolysis, and we will classify the front into stationary front when there is no, that is the condition just prior or before the frontogenesis. ये है 4 type के fronts: cold front, warm front, occluded front and the stationary front. Fine. So you already know the diagram for the warm front. This is how the diagram for the warm front is, circles. You already know the diagram for the cold front, triangles. Fine. What is occluded front? If you remember that day's discussion, the occluded front is the region जहाँ पे whether it is the cold front or whether it is the warm front, which air is going to come on the ground? जो air denser है. So which air is denser? Cold air is denser. The warm air being lighter, वो ऊपर चली जाएगी. So whether it is the cold front or warm front, on the ground after the formation of fronts, there will be the only cold air on the ground and the warm air will go up, and therefore occluded front में diagram is this. This is the symbol. Understanding whether it is the warm front or cold front, दोनों में occlusion होगा. And stationary front is जब cold air and warm air एक दूसरे को parallel flow करती है. That is, I'll show you with this, after I make this symbol, what is meant by stationary front. When is the front formed? Front is formed when the cold and warm air masses are converging, but sometimes due to certain conditions, the cold air which is coming from the east, northeast, वो ऐसे flow करेगी. It may become geostrophic, and the warm air which is coming from the south, वो ऐसे flow करेगी. So इस समय front बनेगा नहीं. This is not a formation of the front. So we call, because front के लिए there has to be convergence, we call this as a stationary front. You see the symbol, cold air का triangle ऊपर, warm air का circle नीचे. Getting it? You see the symbols are very, very important here. It will make your answer look technical. Stationary front will occur when there is no convergence. Actually, it is not a front. स्टेशनरी फ्रंट के लिए कोई कंडीशन नहीं, एक ये एक्सेप्शन है जब एयर कन्वर्ज करने के बदले, नॉट नेसेसरली वो विंड का डायरेक्शन डिपेंड्स अपॉन लोकल प्रेशर कंडीशंस और हमेशा चेंज होते रहता है. चेंज होगा थोड़े टाइम के लिए, हमेशा कन्वर्ज करेगी बट एक आध दिन कन्वर्ज नहीं करेगी, कभी कभी चेंज हो जाएगा. जैसे मानसून हमेशा साउथ वेस्ट नहीं होता, कभी कभी वो गुजरात कोस्ट को भी पैरेलल फ्लो करता है ब्रेक के समय. Rather than flowing parallel to the west coast, perpendicular to the west coast, कभी कभी monsoon का winds become parallel to the west coast. That is what is known as break in the monsoon. 7 days जब बारिश नहीं होती, कभी कभी even on the western coast, that is what is known as the break in the monsoon. Break means in the monsoon period, if it does not rain for a week, that is known as break in the monsoon. Break in the monsoon occurs due to two reasons. One reason is when the easterly jet stream या ITCZ is not present in the original position, वो ऊपर नीचे हो गया. Fine. Second reason is break occurs on the Konkan coast or the western coast of India if the southwest trade winds or the southwest monsoon winds, rather than coming perpendicular and hitting the western coast, they become parallel to the western coast. Why they become parallel to the western coast? Because maybe western coast पे low pressure cyclone develops in this region. So rather than coming and here, hitting here, वो cyclone की तरफ attract हो जाती है. Which happened this year during cyclone Vayu. Therefore, monsoon came late by 7 days in India. And by 9 days in India. Instead of 1st of June, monsoon इस साल came on 8th of June. Understanding the symbols. So triangle is for cold. जब दोनों cold and warm है, occluded दोनों एक side. Exactly जब वो stationary है means वो converge नहीं हुआ, तो कहाँ पे होगा warm air? southern side में. कहाँ पे होगा cold air? North में. So triangle is to the north and semicircle is to the south. Clear? Clear? Everything, these diagrams etc. are given in the books, but बताते नहीं books में कि ऐसा क्यों है ये, फिर हमें वो difficult लगता है. Otherwise this topic is very easy. I'll go again very slowly now. This is the top view. Fine. कि क्या हो रहा है? And let us look at the ground view, what is happening, and you will understand why it is known as a front. So on the ground, there is cold air on the ground, the same that day wala example. There is a cold air on the ground. Warm air comes from some other place. And after coming from some other place, the warm air knows that it cannot displace the cold air. So warm air is lighter. And इसलिए before touching the cold air itself, it will start going upwards because it is lighter than the surrounding air. And ऊपर ऐसे जाते रहेगी this warm air. So warm air is going upwards. As a result of this, for a climatologist, there is an imaginary boundary which is sloping gently to the ground. And this is what is known as an warm front. Understand why we call warm front as a sloping boundary? Because it is a zone जहाँ पे warm and the cold air are interacting, and interaction के बाद वो ऊपर चली जाती है warm air. That is why it is a sloping boundary. Now this area which I have drawn in the regions of warm front, उसका one part can be Pakistan, दूसरा part can be West Bengal. It is a very very huge area. Understanding? And जब वो ऊपर जाएगी तो it will start cooling. And cooling से, I have told you that day, it will start forming the clouds. So जैसे air cool हो रही है वैसे clouds form हो रहे हैं. So you can see यहाँ पे air is going in a gentle manner, so the clouds will be elongated. And you already know elongated clouds are known as stratus clouds. चद्दर जैसा layered clouds. So यहाँ पे भी stratus cloud बनेगा, यहाँ पे भी stratus cloud बनेगा. There will be formation of stratus cloud. There will be formation of stratus cloud here. And there will be formation of small clouds high up in the sky. So when the stratus cloud is at lower height, we will call this as a nimbostratus. When it is at a middle height, it is known as an altostratus. When it is at a higher height, it is known as cirrostratus. And ऊपर जाके और cool हो जाएगा. जो भी moisture बचा है, moisture will be very less because most of the moisture has become cold. So it will not found a long cloud. It will found a dotted cloud, and we will call this as cirrus. But remember, this is stratosphere. जहाँ है, this is a stratosphere. Nimbostratus cloud is associated then with rainfall, and thus it will start giving the rainfall, but not with lightning and thunder in all this rainfall. And धीरे से ऊपर जा रहा है cloud. So therefore, how will be the rainfall? Rainfall will be moderate to gentle generally. Moisture जल्दी नहीं खत्म हो रहा है. Why? Because the cloud is going upwards. उसका relative humidity is decreasing at a very slow speed. Understand the relation. Cloud is going upwards in a gentle manner. It is cooling upwards in a gentle manner. As it is cooling upwards in a gentle manner, its relative humidity is decreasing in a gentle manner. And as a result of this, the rainfall will be gentle. Because the rainfall will be gentle, it will be for a longer duration. Understanding? These are the key words. And it will cover a larger area. जितना slope gentle है, उतना it is going to cover a larger area. जितना slope steep है, उतना it is covering a lesser area. There is two kind of slopes. You can see this is covering a larger area. If it is steep, it is covering a lesser area. इसी rainfall को हम कहते हैं western disturbances. Understanding? Because Himalayan air mass is colder and बाकी का air mass is warmer over the tropics. The Himalaya mass, because of the snowfall, the air mass becomes colder. So as a result of this, the air is forced to rise up, and hence we get a rainfall. We will call this as a western disturbances. So western disturbances is just westerly winds, या jet streams या rainfall. Western disturbances is rainfall. क्यों हो रहा है rainfall? क्योंकि jet streams आ रही है. क्या कर रही है jet stream? Warm air from the Mediterranean Sea को इंडिया में लेके आ रही है. What is happening over India? There is a cold air which is coming from Himalayas. Both of them are converging. and because they both of them are converging, front is formed, and once the front is formed it will start giving the rainfall. Rainfall के लिए moisture कहाँ से आ रहा है? From the Mediterranean Sea, Caspian Sea region. So western disturbances is rainfall. Understanding? Western disturbances मतलब ही rainfall. हर साल होती है. अगर होगी नहीं तो फिर वो क्लाइमेट चेंज का असर है. हाँ, स्नोफॉल भी होता है, मतलब प्रेसिपिटेशन. चलो नॉर्थ इंडिया में रेनफॉल नहीं होगा, बट देयर विल बी स्नोफॉल इन जम्मू कश्मीर, देयर विल बी स्नोफॉल इन द हिमालयस. डिस्टर्बेंस मीन्स प्रेसिपिटेशन, वो होना ही चाहिए. इस साल अच्छा ही होगा. वैसे भी गवर्नमेंट इज क्लेमिंग कि पोल्यूशन हैज डिक्रीज्ड, राइट? बाय क्या? पोल्यूशन तो बढ़ेगा ही, दिवाली आने दो. मैं तो सुबह उठने वाला हूँ नहीं. इनके 8 बजे के क्लास के लिए मैं 7:20 को उठता हूँ. सुबह मेरे से लाइफ में कभी हुआ नहीं. मीन्स कभी कभी तो ऐसे होता था कि रात भर जाग के डायरेक्टली मेंस लिखने चले गए, विच यू शुड नॉट डू. दैट इज अ वेरी बैड स्ट्रेटेजी. सुबह उठो, मैंने गलती की थी. Understanding warm front? Don't draw this diagram. This diagram, if you want, you can draw it for reference, not for your एग्जाम में भी. अगर क्लीन है डायग्राम तो बनाओ, या फिर कोई जरूरत. Understanding why we say front is a region जहाँ पे there is a abrupt change in wind direction, temperature, pressure. You can see if you are standing here and अगर आप चल के जा रहे हो यहाँ से, तो you will see यहाँ पे तो cold air है, and suddenly इस line पे आते ही you will see there is a warm air. Abruptly temperature, pressure, wind direction, everything has changed. GS में पूछते हैं क्वेश्चन, हाउ टू आइडेंटिफाई approaching warm front by looking at which clouds in the sky. सबसे हाई कौन से क्लाउड्स दिखेंगे इन द वार्म फ्रंट? cirrus clouds in the sky. अंडरस्टैंडिंग GS के लिए, GS में फ्रंट्स पे क्वेश्चन आता है. We have, see, all of you are going to study on your own in GS, but your optional answer has to be slightly different. मैं बार बार कहूँगा उन टॉपिक्स में जो सेम है GS एंड ऑप्शनल में. एंड यहाँ पे स्पेसिफिकली बताना पड़ेगा कितना स्लोप है. 1:10 का रेशियो है, 1:100 का रेशियो है, या 1:200 का रेशियो है. अदरवाइज what is going to happen is 10 of you are writing the answers. Fine. Your number is 6th. आपके पहले के 6 लोगों ने सबने अच्छी तरह से लिखा है और आपने एक GS का आंसर लिख दिया. Maybe your answer is very right, but you may have missed out some facts like Jerkin, Bergeron, Jerkins and Jerkins. Fine. So और this, so examiner को ऐसे लगेगा कि अरे इसको आता नहीं है. He does not know कि आपने लिखा नहीं है जानबूझ के. ऐसा लगेगा इसको आता नहीं है क्योंकि इससे इमीडिएट पहले 6 लोगों ने आंसर में सब कुछ लिखा था. तो ही विल कंपेयर दैट आंसर विद द इमीडिएट 6 पीपल एंड गिव यू लेस मार्क्स. फाइन. And second, you can write as it is the answer in GS in the fronts, but only is don't mention the thinkers. GS में never, GS and essay में never reveal your optional. It is a golden rule. कभी reveal नहीं होना चाहिए आपके पेपर में कि कौन सा optional है, क्योंकि अगर reveal हो गया तो एग्जामिनर को ऐसा लगेगा अरे इसका ज्योग्राफी ऑप्शनल है, एक क्वेश्चन में अगर उसको समझ में आया तो नेक्स्ट जो 6 क्वेश्चन बचे हैं जीएस में ज्योग्राफी के, उसका एक्सपेक्टेशंस विल राइज. एज इज एक्सपेक्टेशंस विल राइज, इवन इफ यू राइट एन एवरेज आंसर और गुड आंसर, बट ही मे गिव यू लेस मार्क्स कि इसका तो ऑप्शनल ज्योग्राफी है. फाइन, अंडरस्टैंडिंग? दैट इज व्हाई नेवर रिवील योर आंसर इन जीएस. So warm front, it is defined as a gently sloping surface. Sorry, it is defined as a gently sloping frontal surface. Underline the word gently. Gently sloping frontal surface. Gently sloping frontal surface in which there is active movement, in which there is active movement of active movement of warm air over the cold air. Active movement of warm air over the colder air. In this next point, write only in points, answers be write in points. In this, it is not public administration, sociology की आप पैराग्राफ में लिखोगे, आदत डालो पॉइंट्स में लिखने की हर आंसर. In this, in this, the warm air is active, and advances towards the regions of cooler air, advances to the region of the cooler air due to friction. Third point, due to friction. The advancing warm air becomes slow. किसके साथ friction? Cold air के साथ. Understanding? Due to friction, the advancing warm air becomes slow and starts rising over the cold air. Full stop. Next, this gentle slope from 1:100 to 1:200. What do you mean by 1:100 to 1:200? Ron, what is the meaning of this? 1:100 to 1:200. हम लिखेंगे कोल्ड फ्रंट का स्लोप इतना है 1:20 to 1:50. कुछ नहीं, इक्वेशन है. इसका इक्वेशन बहुत जेंटल है स्लोप. ये 45 डिग्री से कम वाला स्लोप है. समवेयर इट इज अराउंड 10 डिग्रीज टू 35 डिग्रीज. इसका स्लोप इज समवेयर अराउंड 80 to 70 to 80 डिग्रीज. गेटिंग इट? नथिंग एल्स. इट इज अ वे ऑफ राइटिंग. 1:100 to 1:200. is known as warm front, is known as warm front. Weather conditions. Weather conditions. Tell me the weather conditions. बारिश कैसे कैसे होती है स्ट्रेटस क्लाउड की बारिश? ओवर अ लार्जर एरिया, मॉडरेट, जेंटल, हैवी, क्या होती है? It can be moderate to gentle. We will call such a rainfall as drizzle or rain. Drizzle. Generally, we will call this as a drizzle. When the gentle precipitation is there, we will call this as a drizzle. Fine. With lightning or without lightning? Without lightning. So the सबसे पहला point is going to be, is the weather change very abrupt or very gradual? Gradual. Abrupt, cold front में. This is what is abrupt. Suddenly there is a bad weather. Fine. यहाँ पे the weather change is very gradual. You are going to experience somewhat like this. Around 5th of Jan और 7th of Jan थोड़ा गर्मी होगी 2-3 दिन के लिए. आपको लगेगा इस साल विंटर जल्दी खत्म हो रही है. Fine. उसके बाद there is going to be drizzle and suddenly the temperature is going to decrease. Why there is going to be a garmi? Because warm air is coming into your region and there will be a drizzle. फिर news में आएगा there is a heavy snowfall in Shimla, Kullu Manali, Himachal Pradesh, as well as there is a rainfall in Delhi or North India. Why? Dew point का difference है. Because it is colder, वहाँ पे precipitation is in the form of snow. Because it is warmer, the precipitation is in the form of rain. After some days, there will be again 2-3 days of warm. And suddenly after 10 or 15 days, around 26th of January या उससे पहले, there is going to be a very very heavy rainfall. Very heavy rainfall जो शाम को 5-6 बजे के आसपास होगी. उसके साथ साथ ओले भी गिरेंगे. There will be hailstorms. Fine. And then again the temperature is going to decrease. Then you will celebrate Lohri around 13th of Jan, thinking कि the winters have come to an end. But उसके बाद there will be extremely cold climate for 6-7 days. That is what is the cold front. पहले क्या आएगा? Warm front. Then what will come is the cold front. You will understand this phenomenon. And then again by 15th of Feb, when is Lohri? 13th of Jan. 13th to 15th of Jan. Lohri signifies what? End of winters. It is actually harvest season only, end of winters. Lohri signifies the sun has started moving to the northern hemisphere from the southern hemisphere. Fine? Lohri का significance ये है, the position of the sun. When the earth completes इसका revolution around the sun कि अब sunlight थोड़ा ज़्यादा northern hemisphere पे गिरेगा, you first celebrate it as Lohri. Then when the sun comes exactly on the equator, equinox, you celebrate again it as Navratra. In the North India, you celebrate it as Navratra. There are 2 Navratras in North India. Fine. One Navratra which has just gone by, it is associated with the equinox, जो है autumnal equinox. One Navratra will be associated with the spring equinox. But in peninsular India, that is celebrated as Ugadi, Gudi Padwa, or Pongal. Pongal is associated with Lohri. Sankranti, Pongal, yes. Onam, sorry. You celebrate it as Onam. So you celebrate it as a different festivals. If you are Assam mein ho, so you will celebrate it as Bihu. Understanding? Okay, ab sun is going to fall only in the northern hemisphere and our Kharif season is going to start. So after 13th or 14th of Feb, again there will be very very heavy thunderstorm, and that is when the again 1-2 disturbances, ऐसे 6 से 7 western disturbances will keep on visiting India. जिसका frequency has reduced nowadays because of global warming. Means rainfall does not occur. Why? Because there is so much pollution over North India कि cloud formation does not take place. Remember our first initial parts, why the clouds do not form. But snowfall will keep on happening in the Himalayas. Except last year Shimla did not have a snowfall. Last year there was no snowfall in the Shimla, but not in Kulu, not in Manali. Why? Because Shimla, due to tourism, is one of the most polluted places in the Himalayas. Getting it? So this is how the calendar is fixed by the sun. Even then, इसीलिए people who study in Labasna, that is who get selected as IAS, उनको 2 महीने की छुट्टी देना चाहिए, because the entire Mussoorie is below the huge thick blanket of snow. So 2 महीने की छुट्टी कैसे गया? Just September में training has started and December में to Feb 2 महीने की छुट्टी, तो फिर वो you don't study in Labasna, you go for Bharat Darshan. Understanding why Bharat Darshan is there? Because वहाँ पे कुछ नहीं हो सकता फिर. Then they will take you for Bharat Darshan, dividing it into groups. Why? Because the hostel remains closed for 2 months. Understanding? So, ये cold front and warm front you will now start experiencing in the coming days. And you will call this as both as western disturbances. Sometimes the western disturbances will be heavy, sometimes they will be light. When light, yaad rakhna, it is a warm front precipitation. When it is heavy, it is a cold front precipitation. Fine? So weather conditions first. And weather conditions पे questions आते हैं optionals में. So first, there is a gradual changes in temperature and wind direction. There is a gradual change in the temperature and wind direction. Second point, the sequence of clouds. The sequence of clouds is as shown in the above diagram. Is as shown in the above diagram. Next point, even in the tropical regions, above the height of 1000 meters, cirrus clouds are formed. Cirrus clouds are never seen in monsoon regions. They should never be seen in tropics. They are seen only in tropics during the fronts. इसलिए UPSC क्वेश्चन पूछता है कि फ्रंट्स को कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करना है. तो which cloud in the sky? Cirrus cloud. Obviously warm front. क्योंकि cold front के समय there is cumulonimbus cloud. So whenever there is a cumulonimbus cloud, you cannot see what is there in the sky. So it is only warm front. Next. The warm air undergoes adiabatic cooling, forming nimbostratus clouds. Around the height of 300 meters. Around the height of 300 meters. Clear? Fourth point. These clouds, DHESE, these clouds, gives steady precipitation. These clouds, THESE, these clouds, not THIS, this. These clouds give steady precipitation which is moderate to gentle, over a relatively larger area. For several hours. Convective instability is absent along the warm front. Convective instability is absent along the warm front. Convective instability is absent along the warm front. मतलब convection is absent along the warm front. इसका meaning ये है, along the warm front. Convective instability is absent along the warm front. Last point. Inversion of temperature near the surface before rainfall also occurs. Fine. ये डायग्राम भी बना सकते हो एग्जाम में. दिस इज मोर सिंप्लीफाइड. Yeah, ये diagram. It is the whatever the choice is yours. So don't draw this rainfall etc. and cold air on the ground. Fine with the warm front. I'll keep this diagram here for your reference. Cold front. Which air is present on the ground? It is the warm air is present on the ground. Which air is advancing? The cold air is advancing. Cold air हमेशा advances like a wall. Why it advances like a wall? Because it is very slow moving air as it is denser. So at the point where the warm and the cold air is meeting, maybe it is meeting at this point, what will happen? The warm air will be abruptly uplifted by the cold air upwards. It will be abruptly uplifted by the cold air upwards. And as a result of this abrupt vertical uplift, don't draw this diagram, there will be formation of cumulonimbus cloud in the sky. And हमेशा cumulonimbus cloud in the sky is associated with very bad weather. So this steep boundary on which the cold air tries to come on the ground, and the, again don't draw this diagram, and the warm air tries to go up, is thrown upwards, is what is known as an cold front. What is the rainfall? Rainfall will be very heavy, lightning, thunder, hailstorms, cumulonimbus cloud hai matlab, but of a shorter duration because the air is going upwards very quickly. It is emptying its moisture, whatever the moisture it is present, it is giving away in the form of very heavy rainfall because of vertical uplift, and duration is shorter. area is smaller. यहाँ तक ही है rainfall, इसमें area is much larger. So बहुत बार ऐसे होता है only half of Delhi may get very heavy rainfall, the other half of Delhi may not get. या पंजाब, हरियाणा, Delhi will get the rainfall, UP, Bihar will not get the rainfall. इस केस में that is not the situation. इस केस में पाकिस्तान में भी रेनफॉल होगी, बिहार में भी रेनफॉल होगी. In this case, there will be rainfall only in the northwest India, but not in entire North India. Getting it? So that is what is the warm cold front precipitation. Clear? Got it? So cold front, a steeply sloping front, a steeply sloping front characterized by convection, underline the word convection, and forcible uplift of warm air, characterized by convection and forcible uplift of warm air is known as cold front, Next point. It occurs when cold denser air mass, invades the territory of warm lighter air mass, The effects of friction slows down the motion of cold air, making the cold front very steep. Understanding ये इतना steep क्यों है? Because ये cold air धीरे धीरे आ रही है, making the cold front very steep. In the bracket 1:50. 1:50. The wedge, WEDGE, the wedge of cold front has the height of 1 kilometer, over the distance of 50 to 100 kilometers. Tell me, have you understood this statement? मतलब ये जो line है, this line, इसका height for the distance of, this will be 1 kilometer for the distance of 50 to 100 kilometers. Fine. उसका distance in the regions of warm front will be 1 kilometer for the distance of 1000 kilometers. One is to 50. Warm front 200,000. It can be thousands also. Minimum it will be 200 kilometers. Obviously, minimum 200. Has the wedge of Next point. When the cold front, when the cold front, when the cold front interacts with the warm air, when the cold front interacts with the warm air, it steeply uplifts the warm air. It steeply uplifts the warm air. Forming cumulonimbus clouds in the sky. Forming cumulonimbus clouds in the sky. Forming cumulonimbus clouds in the sky. You can draw this diagram. Understanding why it is 1:50, 1:200, 1:2000 या 1:30, मतलब 1 किलोमीटर का हाइट ओवर द डिस्टेंस ऑफ 30 किलोमीटर्स या 2000 किलोमीटर्स या 200 किलोमीटर्स या 50 किलोमीटर्स. दैट इज द मीनिंग ऑफ दिस. Can I continue? Weather conditions. Weather conditions. With the approach of cold front, उसके बाद first point. With the approach of cold fronts, उसके बाद first point. Wind speed or wind velocity increases in the warm sector. Increases in the warm sector. This is a warm sector. यहाँ पे सडनली ये लो प्रेशर बेल्ट तैयार हो जाएगा, इसलिए हवा ऊपर जाना शुरू हो जाएगी एंड हेंस सरफेस विंड्स की वेलोसिटी इंक्रीज हो जाएगी. अंडरस्टैंडिंग? सेकंड पॉइंट, cirrus followed by altocumulus, and finally cumulonimbus. Clouds appear in the sky. Third point, convective instability causes very heavy rainfall, causes very heavy precipitation, along with lightning, thunder and hailstorms. Along the squall line. आपके ऊपर डिपेंड करेगा if you want to write this or if you don't want to write this. Squall line, squall मतलब very heavy rainfall. Squall means cold air. So जहाँ से cold air नीचे आ रही है उसके पास जो लाइन है, imaginary line, वहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? Very heavy rainfall या precipitation. Next point, if the cold air moves over a very warm surface, if the cold air moves over very warm water surface, it absorbs heat and moisture. Making the precipitation more intense. Such phenomena is seen over India at the start of winter season. So you had such phenomena some days back at the start of winter season. हुआ था कि नहीं ऐसा? Hailstorm, our class was going on, right? Hailstorm हुआ था उस दिन. There in Delhi some week before, it was the beginning of winter. So what is this? It is the cold front. Understanding? उसके बाद suddenly the temperature has started to dip. जितना ज़्यादा intense होगा winters, उतना ज़्यादा cold front will keep on coming towards India. Next point. With the passage of the cold front, sky becomes rapidly clear. And again the weather improves. Past year. Again the weather improves. Don't write anything. मैं आपको एक past year question पढ़ के दिखा रहा हूँ. Discuss as to how frontogenesis contributes to weather instability. What you have to write? Warm front instability and the cold front instability. Understanding? Frontogenesis will result into instability, and obviously you will have to write. Also, कितने marks के लिए? Top cost 2015. 30 marks. Top में. So 30 marks के लिए वो था, means you will also have to write about the occlusion front instability. If it comes for 10 marker, कोई ज़रूरत नहीं occlusion front की लिख. Getting it? And obviously you will have to compare the amount of kind of instability which are different in the warm front and the cold front. You can see the diagrams now, both. Warm front instability and the cold front instability. One last point there. एग्जाम में लिखना ये पॉइंट, वैसे टॉपिक अलग है. in USA, when the warm and the cold front meet, due to difference between the fronts, tornadoes are formed. कल हमने किया, this generally occurs due to the mixing of continental polar air mass and maritime tropical air mass. याद है कल का डायग्राम? So this is the continental polar air mass. यहाँ से there is a maritime tropical air mass, and therefore ये है belt of tornadoes. Fine. Clear? Occluded fronts. थोड़ा टेक्निकल है ये. What happens in the warm front? Which air is going upwards? Warm air is going upwards. So can I say in the warm front, this is how the warm air is going upwards? What happens in the cold front? Warm air is going upwards along a steep slope. So नीचे कौन सी एयर बचेगी जमीन पे? यहाँ पे भी cold air and यहाँ पे भी cold air. Fine. And ऊपर there will be warm air. This is a very rough sketch for occluded front. Understanding what is occluded front? When the cold air completely displaces the warm air from the ground, occupies the ground position, and warm air ऊपर हो जाती है, that is what is known as an occluded front, which properly diagram है. So you can first make the diagram of the occluded front. Understood the diagram? क्या नहीं समझ में आया? दिखाने का तरीका है, दोनों फिनोमेना एक साथ नहीं एग्जिस्ट. Whether it is a warm front or whether it is the cold front, warm air will be above and there will be cold air on the ground. That ये दिखाने का तरीका है, and that is what is the warm front, occluded front. ये triangle क्या है? What it is? What? High pressure or low pressure. Whether it is barometric hill है ये. Barometric hill means pressure showed as a mountain. Whether it is the high pressure region, whether it is the low pressure region. In both these cases, there will be cold air on the ground and the warm air will be above. अंडरस्टैंडिंग. सो क्या लिखोगे ऑक्लूडेड फ्रंट में? क्या क्या फिनोमेना होगा? क्या लिखोगे ऑक्लूडेड फ्रंट? स्लोप है ही नहीं इसमें कुछ. दिस इज एक्चुअली अ कंडीशन ऑफ टेम्परेचर इन्वर्जन. रियलिटी में अगर दिखाना गया तो इट इज समवॉट लाइक दिस. इन सिंपल डायग्राम इट इज समवॉट लाइक दिस कि अर्लियर केस में या बाद में के केस में नीचे हमेशा रहेगी कोल्ड एयर, ऊपर हमेशा रहेगी वार्म एयर. वार्म एयर जेंटली फेंकी जाएगी या फोर्सफुली फेंकी जाएगी, दोनों से. वार्म फ्रंट हो या कोल्ड फ्रंट. दिस डायग्राम एक्चुअली शोज टेम्परेचर इन्वर्जन. डायग्राम इज बिट कॉम्प्लिकेटेड. इट इज अ end stage. Whatever be the initial stage of warm front or cold front, final stage में कौन नीचे आने वाला है? Cold air. ऊपर कौन रहने वाला है? Warm air. Fine? That is the meaning of this diagram. Getting it? So actually this is what? Then once it is temperature inversion. Now you understand, if the warm air goes into the territory of cold air, there will be warm front and उसके बाद there will be occlusion. Occlusion means warm air पूरी की पूरी ऊपर निकल जाएगी. So there are two kinds of occluded front. One is known as warm front occlusion, and जब cold front comes into the territory of warm air, cold front totally will come on the ground, push entire warm air upwards. उसके बाद the sky will become cloudless and clear. We have just written that is what is known as cold front occlusion. दोनों के इसमें conditions are slightly different. This is what we are going to write. Warm front occlusion, cold front occlusion. Ultimately it will lead to temperature inversion. Understanding why Delhi is going to suffer from pollution? Because the cold air is going to settle on the ground, it will result into temperature inversion. Temperature inversion will result into formation of fogs. Fogs is a collection of water droplets or moisture, 75% relative humidity, not 100%. 100% के ऊपर तो rainfall, slightly less than 100% of relative humidity when it is suspended in the air, it is known as fogs. अब उस water vapor के साथ और water droplets के साथ smoke mix हो जाएगा, dust particles mix हो जाएंगे, and therefore smog. Which manufacturer has launched India's first electric vehicle today, means on the larger segment? वैसे तो India's first electric vehicle is Reva. आज कौन सी electric vehicle launch हुई under the FAME scheme? What is the FAME scheme? What is the full form of FAME? Faster adoption of manufacturing electric vehicles or mobility of the electric vehicles. That is the FAME scheme. So corporates वो सब के लिए you should be knowing a car known as Tigor. Tata ki Tiago, Tigor. Tigor has been launched. What is the first order? The first order will start from Delhi. All the government vehicles, अब धीरे धीरे सारे diesel vehicles will start getting converted into electric vehicles. Range Tata कहता है 233 kilometers. हाँ वेरीफाइड नहीं, ये वेरीफाइड है, ये ARAI का है वेरीफाइड, ये ARAI सर्टिफाइड है. 233 मतलब 150 के आसपास होगा. 233 जो कंपनी क्लेम कर रही है मतलब 150 के आसपास होगा, मतलब एवरी डे ऑफिस से आना जाना हो जाएगा. सो इट इज़ नॉट फॉर पीपल, इट इज़ फॉर कॉरपोरेट्स, विच अंडरस्टैंडिंग, और इट इज़ फॉर गवर्नमेंट्स. देयरफॉर सब्सिडी मिलेगी 9 लाख के आसपास की व्हीकल की कॉस्ट होगी. इट इज़ नॉट फॉर द इंडिविजुअल्स, बिकॉज इंडिविजुअल्स इतने किलोमीटर में नहीं चलेंगे. फॉर एग्जांपल 17 किलोमीटर्स मेरा आना, कल 17 किलोमीटर्स जाना, वहाँ से वाइफ को पिक करके गुड़गांव 40 किलोमीटर्स, 40 कितना हुआ 80, ख़त्म. एक दिन में चार्ज ख़त्म. डीजल मेरे को कितने का लगा, 250 रुपये का. अंडरस्टैंडिंग. इलेक्ट्रिक किस पे चलती है, लिथियम आयन बैटरीज. नोबल मिला है. ट्राई टू लिंक ऑल दिस थिंग्स. लिथियम आयन बैटरीज में. सो yesterday's Indian Express explained page is very good. Yesterday's Indian Express explained page is very good. Express page का, Indian Express explained page का कटिंग रखो और अभी से पढ़ते रखो, नोट्स बनाते रहो उसमें से. फाइन. मंडे के लेक्चर में आई विल डिस्कस दिस मंथ का ज्योग्राफी ऑन यू. खरीदने की ज़रूरत नहीं, बिकॉज दिस मंथ का ज्योग्राफी ऑन यू इज ऑन ozone depletion, on ozone, and there is very good idea of given of good ozone, bad ozone, etc. But you are not supposed to do this. I will discuss one scheme in that. I think this exam is all about picking the right things. The only thing is, जिस दिन कुमार बुक डेपो या कोई भी बुक डेपो पे इंडियन एक्सप्रेस एक्सप्लेन पेज का जेरोक्स का बाइंडेड कॉपी मिलना शुरू हो जाएगा, उस दिन आप खरीद लोगे. इतनी थिक सोच के कि यार ये सब टॉपिक्स इसमें है, कवर कुछ नहीं करोगे क्योंकि वो फिर टेंशन आएगा. और वही हर थर्सडे कवर करना बिल्कुल भी नहीं, हफ्ते में एक. बाकी छोड़ो पढ़ना, या किसी भी MCQ सॉल्व करो दुनिया भर के टेस्ट सीरीज का. फाइन. मेंस तो हमेशा प्रेडिक्ट किया जा सकता है, प्रीलिम्स इज नॉट प्रेडिक्टेड. सो कीप ऑन सॉल्विंग द MCQs. जितनी टेस्ट सीरीज है ले लो, MCQs सॉल्व करो. MCQs सॉल्व करके मैं कभी नहीं देखता था मेरे मार्क्स कितने आते थे. I used to look, because I consider myself as a prelims master, not as a mains master. Prelims master because prelims कभी भी confidence है पास होने का, अभी भी confidence है. Fine, give me a prelims का paper tomorrow, I'll pass the prelims. This is what we did in 2015 when suddenly 7 days before UPSC ने हमारा hall ticket generate किया on the court का orders. I was in Mumbai. And because we were fighting against the UPSC, from Allahabad High Court, I was given Allahabad Center at National Government School of Allahabad. एक अलग से क्लासरूम था जो भी कोर्ट के ये थे. We were 30 people, fine, all old timers. 2012 की केस थी, 2015 में हम एक लेवल जीत गए थे. And UPSC के जज ने कहा था कि the judge who had said to the UPSC कि हॉल टिकट्स इशू करो, तो हॉल टिकट्स इशू नहीं किए यूपीएससी ने इन द मंथ ऑफ फेब. फिर हमने बताया इन द मंथ ऑफ कि अभी तक हमें हॉल टिकट्स मिले नहीं, डेट निकल गई एक्सेट्रा, ये सब निकल गई. तो जज ने सुना 7 days बिफोर द प्रीलिम्स. फाइन. सो 7 days बिफोर द प्रीलिम्स जज ने कहा मैंने 3 महीने पहले ऑर्डर दी थी, अभी तक आपने हॉल टिकट क्यों नहीं इशू किए? उन्होंने कहा था साइट वो सब बंद हो गई। जज ने कहा कि हम मुझे कुछ नहीं पता, अगर आप हॉल टिकट इशू नहीं कर सकते तो शाम को रात को 9 बजे मुझे यूपीएससी का सेक्रेटरी चाहिए यहाँ। एंड यू नो व्हाट आर द कोर्ट का ऑर्डर्स। हमें कॉल करके कि नहीं हम हॉल टिकट इशू करते। वी सेड हमारे पास फोटोज और सब नहीं है अभी अपलोड करने के लिए। उन्होंने कहा फोटो जो है वो हमें मेल कर दो, व्हाट्सएप कर दो। सो दे गेव अस द फोन नंबर्स। ऐसे हमारे फॉर्म्स भरे गए। सिर्फ क्या लिया गया हमसे? नाम, डेट ऑफ बर्थ एंड व्हाट्सएप ऑफ फोटो। इमेजिन हाउ यू फिल अप द फॉर्म वेरी क्लियरफुली। एंड उसमें से हमारा एक फ्रेंड, ही हैड गॉन ऑन हिज हनीमून टू यूरोप। शादी हो गई थी उसकी उस दरम्यान, और उससे फॉर्म भराया गया ऑन 1 day बिफोर द प्रिलिमिनरी एग्जाम, क्योंकि कोर्ट का ऑर्डर था कि फॉर्म भराना ही है, एग्जाम में बिठाना ही है। I told them कि I'm going to take 2 days to travel from Mumbai to Allahabad. Why you are making me fail? Give me Mumbai center या फिर वैसे ही fail हो जाए। But they gave Allahabad center because the court case was from Allahabad and there was a technical difficulties. Why the court case was from Allahabad? उसका भी ये reason है because Allahabad High Court is the only court which is student friendly. Otherwise बाकी कोई भी court student friendly नहीं है. Fine. That is why we fought from Allahabad. Understanding? So these are very technicalities here. And then we wrote the prelims. 30 में से 28 people cleared the preliminary examination. सारे पता था क्या पढ़ना है क्या नहीं पढ़ना है। 2015 की एग्जाम वी वन दैट ईयर। मेंस का हमें लिखने का ये मिला, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली जो जज हमारा ये था, हु वाज इन फेवर ऑफ अस, द चीफ जस्टिस, ही वाज ट्रांसफर्ड इन द लास्ट मोमेंट। ही वाज ट्रांसफर्ड टू द चेन्नई हाई कोर्ट एंड ए न्यू जज केम एंड he asked us to go to CAT, that is the Central Administrative Tribunal. Central Administrative Tribunal में there are 2 judges. One is from the judicial background who does not seek reappointment. One is from the administrative background, a retired IAS IPS officer जिसको government can reappoint. Obviously वही हुआ। CAT के में decision जो हुआ वो 50-50 था। Administrative person was against us, judicial person was towards us, because the administrative person was seeking for reappointment and everything is done by DOPT. That time we realized कि UPSC as a body is not at all powerful. UPSC तो चाहती थी कि हमारे साथ गलत हुआ है कि हमें अटेम्प्ट मिल जाए, और एक DOPT बिल्कुल नहीं चाहती थी। DOPT के कुछ ऑफिसर्स ने ईगो पे ले लिया था उसको। So what used to happen is in our hearing UPSC का लॉयर ही नहीं आता था, because that is a tactic support of how to make the students win. And the additional solicitor general of India used to come and fight with our lawyer. और हमारा lawyer कौन? 30 into 10,000 रुपए जमा करके जो lawyer है वो किया हुआ। वो किसके साथ? Additional solicitor general. वो lawyer, additional solicitor general used to talk whatever things, the lawyer used to say yes sir. Then we used to remind yes sir नहीं, ये point है, वो क्यों पंगे लेगा हमारे लिए, उसका तो पूरा करियर बचा हुआ है। अंडरस्टैंडिंग? सो दैट टाइम वी रियलाइज कि राइट टू लाइफ ये सब कुछ नहीं है, सब किताबी बातें हैं। इन द एंड इट इज द माइट विच विंस द कोर्ट। केस था कि देयर हैज टू बी ट्रांसपेरेंसी इन यूपीएससी। केस था कि देयर कैनॉट बी सम पीपल जस्ट गेटिंग 6 marks out of 200 in essay. Fine. There were some people who had got just 6 marks out of 200 in essay. Case was कि you should declare prelims का marks. As case was you should declare prelims का answers, right answers. So 2012 से they accepted some of our parameters and they could not accept because there were many people जिसको 7 mark मिले थे out of 200 in essay. ऐसे नहीं हो सकता because the same person, या GS1 में they have got out of 300 180 marks and GS2 में they have got out of 300 just 15 marks. What does it mean? कि इसको 150 थे and this was a clerical mistake, typing error. Fine. इसलिए 15 आ गया, क्योंकि जिसको 180 मार्क्स मिल सकते हैं पेपर 1 में, वो इतना पागल नहीं कि उसको 15 मार्क्स मिलेंगे ओनली इन पेपर 2. अंडरस्टैंडिंग दिस इज नॉट फिजिक्स, ये ह्यूमैनिटीज का पेपर है. फिजिक्स होता, मैथ्स होता, फिर भी समझ में आता. सो ओवर द पीरियड धीरे धीरे ट्रांसपेरेंसी इज हैपनिंग इन यूपीएससी. बट द न्यू मिनिस्टर जो अभी है डीओपीटी मिनिस्टर, ही वॉज ऑफेंडेड बाय सम पीपल. उसके साथ साथ हमसे गलती हुई कि हमने ये एंटी सी सेट वाले भी जोड़ लिए. हमें पता नहीं था उसमें से कुछ लोग लीडर्स बनना चाहते हैं. Their aim was never transparency in UPSC. Their aim was to get political mileage and become AVPP NSUI के presidents. Fine. So उन लोगों ने DOPT के मिनिस्टर के पुतले जला दिए, and पुतले जलाने के बाद the DOPT minister became totally against us. And फिर otherwise वो मान भी गए थे कि एक्स्ट्रा अटेम्प्ट एक दे देंगे, स्टूडेंट्स आर जेन्युइन. लास्ट में जज ने ये कहा सुप्रीम कोर्ट के, देन वी फ्रॉम कैट वी वेंट टू हाई कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट टू वी वेंट टू सुप्रीम कोर्ट. सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एटलीस्ट हमारी सुनवाई हुई, नहीं तो आई वी सॉ इन सुप्रीम कोर्ट ऐसे फाइल देखते हैं और ऐसे फेंक देते हैं लॉयर के मुंह पे इन सुप्रीम कोर्ट फाइल कि ये क्या फालतू केसेस है. सो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाने के बाद यू रियली रियलाइज कि व्हाट इज द पावर ऑफ जज. जज सिट्स एटलीस्ट 20 feet हायर देन यू. दैट मीन्स जनता एंड राजा. फाइन, दैट इज व्हाट इट इज. बाकी केस में भी, बट सुप्रीम कोर्ट में इट इज टू दिस थिंग, वो फेंकते रहते हैं फाइल्स. एंड अल्टीमेटली एटलीस्ट हमारा 2 मिनट सुनवाई हुई. तो जज ने, ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि वी अंडरस्टैंड व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन यूपीएससी बट वी डोंट वांट टू ओपन पंडोरास बॉक्स. पंडोरास बॉक्स मीन्स अगर खोला इसको तो बहुत ज़्यादा प्रॉब्लम होगा. सो फॉर द बेटर गुड देयर आर सम हार्श डिसीजंस टू बी टेकन. You look at your some other alternative career, take this only as an exam in your life and move ahead. उनके लिए वो कहना बहुत आसान था. Thankfully I had teaching skills, तो मैं teach कर रहा था, but there were many people who were just dependent on. I तो started teaching in 2011. I knew कि ये केस भी से कुछ होता नहीं इंडिया में. Because I am Mike, I cannot say all the things, but there was a demand even from the judge कि उसके cousins and बच्चों के लिए अगर मैक्रो वो दे दिया तो he can. So this things are there, these things are. फिर इसलिए जब मैं पॉलिटी में पढ़ता हूँ राइट टू लाइफ और राइट टू दिस थिंग, ये सब मुझे कोर्ट कैन डू एनीथिंग. कोर्ट कैन डू एनीथिंग. कोर्ट मीन्स आई रियली रियलाइज कि कितनी गलती हो गई यूपीएससी ट्राई करने के लिए. इससे अच्छा जुडिशियरी के लिए ट्राई करता. कंपटीशन भी कम थी एंड सच्ची पावर्स तो उनके पास है, जुडिशियरी के पास. नहीं, जुडिशियल सर्विसेज में ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं. स्टेट पीसीएस के जैसे. किसके ऊपर डाल सकते हैं, क्यों नहीं डाल सकते? नहीं, रिस्पॉन्ड भी आता है. That is wrong, na? RTI is, he should have gone there and met. UPSC is very cooperative body, very much cooperative body. It's the DOPT which is not cooperative. UPSC is very cooperative body. UPSC will go beyond anything to help you. I'll say बहुत लोग इंटरव्यू में सर्टिफिकेट्स भूल जाते हैं ले जाना. यूपीएससी उनको टाइम देता है. यही स्टेट सर्विसेज वाले सर्टिफिकेट भूल गए तो वापस कर देते, वो इंटरव्यू नहीं लेते. यूपीएससी इज एक्सट्रीमली कोऑपरेटिव बॉडी. एंड हमारे लिए सिंपैथी थी यूपीएससी को, इसलिए हमें केस से पहले पता भी लगता था कि क्या होने वाला है, कैसे हम प्रेजेंट करें केस को, इसलिए हमारी केस स्ट्रांग बनती गई। नहीं तो हमारा वकील क्या था, कुछ भी नहीं था। तो केस तो स्टूडेंट्स ने लड़ी है, वकील तो अपना हियरिंग पैसे लेता था बस। सो उसमें से विद द टैक्टिक सपोर्ट ऑफ यूपीएससी ओनली, एंड इसीलिए अभी तक वो मूवमेंट भी जिंदा है इन विच दे आर स्टिल डिमांडिंग फॉर एक्स्ट्रा अटेम्प्ट 2011 to 14 वाले स्टूडेंट्स, जिसमें सबसे ज़्यादा सिलेबस चेंज हुआ। एंड ये होता है व्हेन योर प्राइम मिनिस्टर इज नॉट फ्रॉम द इलेक्टेड बैकग्राउंड। मनमोहन सिंह, he did not understood whatever जो extra attempt मिला, whatever the CSAT has gone, it is because the students were sitting in the front of Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi was in Amethi, he came back रात को, I remember 26 December की winters थे, they were sitting entire night they sat. राहुल गांधी was in Amethi, उन्होंने लाठी चार्ज किया। राहुल गांधी के पास फ़ोन गया सेक्रेटरी का कि ऐसे ऐसे है, उनको लेके गए इन द तुगलक तीन मूर्ति भवन पुलिस स्टेशन। राहुल गांधी का फ़ोन आया उसमें कि वाई यू आर डूइंग लाठी चार्ज जस्ट इलेक्शन से पहले विद द स्टूडेंट्स। सो स्टूडेंट्स को समोसे खिलाए गए, रात को डिनर दिया गया, और फिर से पुलिस ने छोड़ दिया राहुल गांधी के पास घर के बाहर एक डिसिप्लिन वे में, और रात भर उनको चाय नाश्ता की ये की गई। नेक्स्ट डे मॉर्निंग में राहुल गांधी केम, एंड व्हेन राहुल गांधी आस्क्ड व्हाट इज़ द प्रॉब्लम, दैट टाइम ही न्यू कि आईएएस ऑफिसर्स ऐसे बनते हैं, दे हैव टू गो थ्रू एग्जाम्स एक्सेट्रा। और उसमें एक लड़की रो पड़ी, ऐसे ही लड़की रो पड़ी। Rahul Gandhi is very soft hearted, so he took us inside and asked us, and then he called the DOPT minister और कहा कि इनको 2 अटेम्प्ट मिलने चाहिए कुछ भी करके। That Congress lost the election, otherwise उसी साल CSAT निकल जाता। Congress lost the election, this came, and जो bureaucrats है, bureaucrats are always very mischievous, उन्होंने फिर उसको कॉम्प्लिकेट करके ऐसे बनाया कि हर एक को एटलीस्ट 1 अटेम्प्ट मिलेगा पर 2 अटेम्प्ट नहीं मिलेंगे। दैट इज 2015 का एग्जाम, इफ यू रिमेंबर 14-15 का एग्जाम। एंड उसके बाद फिर मुखर्जी नगर में बसें तोड़ी गई, पुलिस स्टेशन जलाए गए। सो सीसैट में से पहले इंग्लिश निकाला गया, फिर सीसैट में को क्वालिफाइंग किया गया, और अब बातें चल रही है सीसैट को निकाला ही जाए। अंडरस्टैंडिंग? सो this all started क्योंकि निगवेकर कमिटी recommendations has said that CSAT is very discriminatory in nature. And why it is discriminatory in nature? Why the CSAT was brought? CSAT was brought so that DP Agarwal, who was there, who was the chairman of UPSC, he was very technocrat. He wanted entire UPSC to be full of engineers. वो नहीं चाहता था ह्यूमैनिटीज़ एंड नॉन इंजीनियरिंग बैकग्राउंड के स्टूडेंट आ जाए, बिकॉज दे वांटेड कि कॉज एंड इफेक्ट रिलेशनशिप जो फेल हो गया और द पीरियड ऑफ टाइम दिस रिफॉर्म फेल्ड। बट ये इलेक्टेड गवर्नमेंट है, ये सुन रही है, बट हमारे साथ या किसी और स्टूडेंट्स के साथ प्रॉब्लम ये है कि अब गवर्नमेंट चाहती भी है हेल्प करना, बट आवर एज इज़ टू मच, देन इट विल ओपन अगेन अ पैंडोरास बॉक्स। फिर वो स्टेट सर्विस जैसा हो जाएगा, ओपन का एज 40, ओबीसी का एज 45 एंड SC/ST का एज 47, रिटायरमेंट 54। फाइन, सो इट डज नॉट मेक एनी सेंस। इसलिए दे वांट टू हेल्प, बट इट इज नाउ 2011 का केस है, दिस इज 2019। सो द पर्सन हु वाज 32 years of age नाउ हैज बिकम 37 years of age 2019 में। इसलिए द गवर्नमेंट डज नॉट want to help now. So coming to the occluded front, means why I am telling you all this कि you never knew कि कब लक, पहले 2 अटेम्प्ट में मेरा लक साथ मत था, but I was not very serious. When I became very serious तो लक ने साथ नहीं दिया। So जो बेस्ट अपॉर्चुनिटी है वो ले लो, you never know when your luck या तारे बदल जाएंगे। I never used to believe in these things, but I have seen enough experiences in life कि ये एग्जिस्ट करती है। देयर आर सम थिंग्स बियॉन्ड योर कंट्रोल। ऐसे नहीं कि मैं बेस्ट दूंगा और उसी साल आपका सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा। मे बी यू विल नॉट गिव योर बेस्ट एंड उस साल आपका सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा, और आसपास वाले देखे बोलेंगे अरे कुछ पढ़ता नहीं था IAS हो गया। वो ये नहीं देखेंगे उसने पहले 3 साल जब वो सिलेक्ट नहीं हुआ था तो उसने कितनी मेहनत की थी। फाइन, एंड दिस आर द इन आवर टेस्ट सीरीज there is a person who was writing the mains ka test series. I will not disclose his name. He is the सदर्न इंडिया हेड ऑफ अमेजॉन फ्रस्ट्रेट हो गया है कॉर्पोरेट लाइफ से, उसका 1 CR प्लस का एनुअल पैकेज है, एंड ही इज फर्स्ट एंड लास्ट अटेम्प्ट में ही हैज डिसाइडेड कि नहीं यूपीएससी आईएएस बनना है. इज आईआईटी रूरकी, IIMC, और उसके बाद स्टैनफोर्ड, उसके बाद प्राइस वाटर हाउस कूपर्स PwC, उसके बाद अमेजॉन इंडिया का साउथ इंडिया हेड, एंड नाउ जॉब छोड़ के ही इज ट्राइंग फॉर IAS. इंटरव्यू क्लियर है इसका. लैटरल एंट्री के लिए उसको फिर RSS ज्वाइन करना पड़ेगा. लैटरल एंट्री इज RSS एंट्री स्कीम. So occluded front, it occurs when the cold front overtakes the warm front. Understanding? Cold air ऐसे आ रही है, it is overtaking the warm front. That is why this diagram. It occurs when the cold front overtakes the warm front. As the cold air, next point, as the cold air starts displacing the warm air from the ground, the cold front starts rapidly advancing. The cold front starts rapidly advancing. The cold front starts rapidly advancing. Full stop. Rapidly advancing. I'll tell you what is this rapidly advancing. Ultimately, the cold and warm front combine. Cold and warm front combine to cause an occlusion, See, this is how a front is formed. Fine. Uske baad, in the second stage, the cold air is attracted towards the low pressure belt. So cold air aise turn ho jati hai. Don't draw this diagram. ये हमें temperate cyclone में draw ही करना है. So this is the region of a cold front, and warm air ऐसे बीच में trap हो जाती है. So this is the region of an warm air. What is this? Cold front. What is this? Warm front. And बाकी के regions में सारी cold air है. This is this where the cold air is there. ये बन गया temperate cyclone. Now what is going to happen, whether it is the cold front or the warm front, warm air ऊपर जाएगी. This is what you are looking from the top. This is the top view. यहाँ से warm air will go up, यहाँ से warm air will be thrown upwards. So can I say, जैसे warm air का area will reduce, or in other words there will be advancement of the cold front ऐसे advance होगा, that means cold air यहाँ तक आएगी, फिर से cold front फिर से advance होगा, cold air will come till here. Why? Because ground पे क्या दिख रहा है is what is we are drawing. We are not drawing what is there in the upper air. So what is happening in the third case? Warm air का area is reduced a lot. There is a reduction in the area of warm air, this case. Fine? And it is completely surrounded by the cold air. And ultimately what will happen is cold front will meet the warm front, and this is what is known as an occlusion. There will be only cold air on the ground, warm air kahan chali gayi? Upar chali gayi. We'll come again to this diagram. Ye diagram hai life cycle of a temperate cyclone. So temperate cyclone starts with frontogenesis, ends with frontolysis. So first, cold front occlusion. Cold front occlusion. Therefore, we have written cold front overtakes the warm front. Cold front occlusion occurs when the cold front overtakes the warm front. Cold front overtakes the warm front. Or in other words, colder air completely displaces the warmer air from the ground. Completely displaces the warmer air from the ground. Next. In the initial stages, the weather is similar to the warm front weather. Weather is similar to the warm front weather. But in the later stages, weather becomes similar to cold front weather. Weather becomes similar to cold front weather. Weather becomes similar to the cold front weather. थोड़ा complicated है, you understand this. Cold front occlusion कब होगा? When the cold front will overtake the warm front. Fine? मतलब इस region में होगा cold front का occlusion when the cold air will displace the warm air. Warm front का occlusion कब होगा? जब warm air initially निकल जाए. So इस region में होने वाला है warm front occlusion. In this region there will be cold front occlusion. So if you are standing here, before the occlusion is taking place, the weather will be similar to the warm front ka weather, and later on as the cold front will come and come, so later on the weather will become similar to the cold front ka weather. You will have to just imagine in 3 dimension ki yahan pe ho, this is the normal cyclone. Cold front occlusion means cold air is coming, and last mein there is an occlusion when there is no warm air on the ground. So in the cold front occlusion, initially there will be warm front ka weather, and later on there will be cold front ka weather. Getting it? Next. The warm front occlusion occurs, warm front occlusion occurs when the warmer air totally advances along the warm front. totally advances along the warm front. Thus, along the in the warm front occlusion, thus in the warm front occlusion, thus in the warm front occlusion, the colder air masses, the weather gradually starts becoming colder and colder. The weather gradually starts becoming colder and colder. Colder and colder. Next paragraph. Occlusion results into very complex climate. Occlusion results into very complex climate. But in any occlusion, the colder air displaces the warmer air completely from the ground. Displaces the warmer air completely from the ground. Resulting into temperature inversion, फ्रंटोलाइसिस, कॉमा के बाद फ्रंटोलाइसिस, and death of a temperate cyclone. And death of a temperate cyclone. And death of a temperate cyclone. You can draw this diagram. Blue area is cold air वाला region. इवन इफ यू मेक दिस डायग्राम्स एंड खुद से लिखा तो भी चलेगा. क्या हो रहा है इन दिस डायग्राम? कोल्ड एयर पीछे से आके वार्म एयर को लिफ्ट कर रही है, इसलिए ये सर्कल कंप्लीट है, ये हाफ है. व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इन दिस डायग्राम? वार्म एयर खुद ब खुद ऊपर जा रही है, वार्म एयर इज गोइंग अप ऑन इट्स ओन, एंड फिर वार्म एयर टोटली ऊपर जाने के बाद कोल्ड एयर धीरे से रिप्लेस कर रही है, इसलिए ये सर्कल इनकम्प्लीट है बट ये लाइन कंप्लीट है. अंडरस्टैंडिंग? यहाँ पे द क्लाइमेट विल बी सिमिलर टू द कोल्ड फ्रंट, यहाँ पे द क्लाइमेट इज सिमिलर टू वार्म फ्रंट. इन सिंपल वर्ड, जब हवा टोटली ऊपर चली गई, गर्म हवा, if it is totally going upwards in the regions of warm fronts, it is warm front occlusion. If the warm air is totally thrown upwards forcibly from the regions of cold air, it is cold front occlusion. Can I continue? Understanding the diagrams are very simple, सिर्फ समझ लो. कोल्ड फ्रंट ऑक्लूजन में कोल्ड एयर पीछे से आके पूरे वार्म एयर को थ्रो कर रही है. दैट इज व्हाई यू आर शोइंग इन दिस डायग्राम दैट कोल्ड फ्रंट इज लिफ्टिंग द वार्म फ्रंट अपवर्ड्स. इन दिस वार्म फ्रंट हैज लिफ्टेड ऑन इट्स ओन, सो इसलिए इट इज जेंटल, निम्बोस्ट्रेटस क्लाउड्स बनेंगे. एंड एक बार हवा ऊपर निकल गई वार्म एयर, तो पीछे से कोल्ड एयर धीरे धीरे आ रही है. दैट इज व्हाट इज द वार्म फ्रंट occlusion. If I want to show you top view of a cyclone, where is going to be a warm front occlusion. Here is the cold front occlusion, whenever the occlusion will occur. Clear? This is, ये अभी समझ में आएगा. This is the top view of a cyclone. Fronts का importance क्या है? They result into formation of temperate cyclone, and thus we come to the last part of this our climatic this thing, that is atmospheric disturbances. And atmospheric disturbances may we are going to do cyclones, thunderstorms, अच्छा स्टेशनरी फ्रंट बचा है, चलो आई विल फर्स्ट कंप्लीट दिस, लीव सम स्पेस, स्टेशनरी फ्रंट बचा है एंड डस्ट स्टॉर्म्स। अगर करंट बेस्ड क्वेश्चन आएगा तो क्वेश्चन यहाँ से आएगा, ये तो ऑब्वियसली वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक है ही, ऑलवेज फेवरेट, या क्वेश्चन विल बी फ्रॉम हियर इफ देयर इज थंडरस्टॉर्म्स दिस ईयर इन इंडिया, देयर विल बी नेवर अ क्वेश्चन फ्रॉम टॉर्नेडोस इन इंडिया। When we study cyclones, we study two kinds, temperate cyclones or tropical cyclones. Fine? These are known as extratropical and these are known as tropical cyclones. Now before I go, two lines regarding the stationary front. Stationary front is so unimportant, that is stationary front. When the winds on both the sides, when the winds on both the sides are blowing parallel to each other, then the front that is formed is known as stationary front. Then the front that is formed is known as stationary front. बस इतना ही लाइन है स्टेशनरी फ्रंट. It does not cause any weather phenomena, anything. That is why I forgot. Stationary front में winds do not converge, they just blow parallel to each other. Getting it? This is what is the stationary front. Coming to the cyclones, important topic, करके जाना properly. Again, first I will tell you all the things that are conceptual. पहले समझ लो आज के लेक्चर में, कल फिर हम जो कुछ आंसर्स कैसे लिखना है वो फोकस करेंगे. फाइन. सो व्हाट इज अ साइक्लोन? साइक्लोन मीन्स एनी लो प्रेशर सेंटर. surrounded by high pressure which increases outwards. That means if I want to show this is a low pressure, this is a high pressure, उसके बाहर और ज़्यादा high pressure, उसके बाहर और ज़्यादा high pressure. That is what is. That is, it is represented by closed isobars. Keywords ही बताऊंगा आज मैं. What are the closed isobars? Closed isobars, how they are closed. Fine. So low pressure center surrounded by closed isobars with the increasing pressure outwards. Key, the winds which come from the high pressure to the low pressure, they flow in such a manner that you already have seen. These are the examples of the gradient wind that they turn anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere, or they may become clockwise in the southern hemisphere. Clear? They may become clockwise in the southern hemisphere, yeah, they may turn anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere. Based on this, we will study two types of cyclones. One cyclone is what is known as an extratropical cyclone, जिससे we are going to study. The most complex because you don't study in GS. And the other is tropical cyclone, which you already know in GS. उसके क्या क्या conditions है. Just to give you a brief idea कि क्या difference है इन दोनों के बीच, इसके लिए the source of energy is latent heat. And इसके लिए the source of energy is frontogenesis. मीन्स ये जब तब तक रहेगा साइक्लोनिक कंडीशंस जब तक देयर इज अ फॉर्मेशन ऑफ फ्रंट्स, ये तब तक रहेगा टिल द टाइम ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मॉइस्ट हीट इज सप्लाइड, लेटेंट हीट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ मॉइस्ट हीट, in the form of moist heat. So as a result of this, tropical cyclone will originate only on the water body. Temperate cyclones can originate in both land and water wherever there is front, that is wherever there is a mixing up of warm and cold air masses. Fine, we'll write this finer points जो है वो हम directly answer में लिखेंगे. We'll make one model answer because एक ही question आता है यहाँ से, comparison between tropical and temperate cyclones. If we look at the world map of the world distribution of the cyclones, we'll see that they are found in well-defined belt. If this is the equator, all the cyclones that are found in this belt or in this belt on both the sides of the equator, except in certain regions, are what are known as the tropical cyclones. ये map आना ही चाहिए. Don't draw this now. We'll draw this properly tomorrow, showing the direction of the cyclones. I am just showing you very brief. कि यहाँ पे there is a tropical cyclone जिसका नाम है typhoons. यहाँ पे there is a tropical cyclone जिसका नाम है विली विली. यहाँ पे there is a tropical cyclone जिसका नाम है, they don't have any specific direction you can see, but general direction is east to west, जिसका नाम है cyclones only. यहाँ पे and यहाँ पे there is a tropical cyclone जिसका नाम is hurricanes. कितने बजे? 10 मिनट. वैसे मैं 5:45 तक लेगा. कितने स्टूडेंट्स हैं? कितने बजे का टाइम दिया है? 5:30. ठीक है रुक जा, 10 मिनट्स ले लेता हूँ. ये पहले कंसेप्ट समझा देता हूँ फिर छोड़ दूँगा. नहीं फिर जाएगा नहीं ना, प्रॉपरली जाना चाहिए ना, ऑनलाइन बच्चे हैं. ठीक है. You can see here that they are going only on the land and they are dying out, but they are more properly formed on the sea. As soon as they reach the land, they die out. On the other hand, अगर if I want to show you the temperate cyclones, ये है temperate cyclones. Land पे भी, समंदर पे भी, land पे भी, sea पे भी. This is their basic idea, but sometimes they also come in this region. This is the region of the temperate cyclones. ये temperate cyclones which come to India are known as western disturbances. And you can see there is exactly opposite direction, that is the west to east. Fine. So let us first look at the temperate cyclone, how they are formed. So in the first stage, you will now understand क्यों stationary front बनाया गया. This is the region जहाँ पे the cold air and the warm air are converging along a point, giving rise to a front. But अभी तक वो converge नहीं हुए हैं. In the first case, they have not converged. They are maybe waiting for some kind of a signal कि चलो अब cyclone बनाने की शुरुआत करो. वैसे real life में होता नहीं है. They will always converge, and as a result of this, ये stationary front का condition है, which in reality does not exist. It is just made to explain common people about the formation of the temperate cyclone. Reality में there will always be a warm front, cold front या occluded front. स्टेशनरी फ्रंट क्या है? हाँ, दोनों विंड्स एक दूसरे की तरफ देख रही है बट अभी तक कन्वर्ज नहीं कर रही है. सो इट इज जस्ट फर्स्ट स्टेज ऑफ frontogenesis. Now they will start converging. How they will start converging? The warm air will try to go into the territory of cold air. Properly सुन लो सब. The cold air will try to go into the territory of warm air. So which front will be formed here? Cold front. Which front will be formed here? Warm front. As a result of this, in the second diagram, ये ऐसे fronts form होना शुरू हो गए. Warm front, जो मैं circles से दिखाऊंगा, understanding? Cold front, which I am going to show with the help of triangles. So in this, there is a cold front, there is a warm front. What is the definition of a cyclone? Low pressure center. You tell me कब low pressure center form हो जाएगा. This is a region of a cold air. This is also a region of cold air. Cold air is trying to move here, but उसको दिखता है कि warm air has been trapped, and the low pressure, biggest low pressure is existing here. कितने हो जाएगा टाइम? 5:20 को शुरू कर दें. शुभ्रारंजन स्टैंडर्ड टाइम. फाइन. 5 o'clock means शुभ्रारंजन में 5:20. Always ahead. So now the cold air is trying to come into that cold air. It has displaced. It has come into the territory of warm air. Fine. यहाँ पे also which air is there? Cold air is there. And this is how a frontogenesis has started, with the cold front being developed here and the warm front being developed here. Fine. अब what is going to happen? Just try to imagine in your mind what is going to happen. Warm air is going to go upwards, cold air is going to come from here. So as a result of this, warm air का ये top view है, याद रखना ये top view है. Warm air ऊपर जा रही है, हम नहीं दिखा सकते यहाँ पे. Cold air भी warm air को throw कर रही है ऊपर, हम नहीं दिखा सकते. So but can I show you in the top view that the area of the warm air will start reducing, right? And the cold air will start encircling the warm air. I can show you this. What will be the further situation? Further situation will be again the area of cold air will reduce, warm air will reduce, and this is where the warm air will be trapped. Sorry. This is where the warm air will be trapped, and this is where how the cold air will start encircling the warm air. Now, if this is the situation from the top, ये center है. कौन सी air है center में? Warm air. And side में कौन सी air है? Cold air. As you are going more away, you are going into the polar regions. So temperature decreasing and pressure increasing. This is what is a cyclone. Low pressure center with increasing pressure outwards. This kind of a cyclone, which does not fit our definition of a proper cyclone, is what is known as a extratropical cyclone. We'll continue tomorrow. Kal ka lecture again is going to be very crucial, because Thevartha we will do along with the cyclones tomorrow.